Hello and welcome to the Vivifier. My name is Crystal Denise Garcia. I am a self-love coach, transformational speaker, and dream facilitator. And this podcast is on sovereignty, spirituality, and love. And today, I'm very excited for this, guys. I have Sarah Ramsey here. Sarah, hello.
Hi, how are you?
So great. It's so great to have you here. Thank you for being here.
I am excited to be here. I had you on my podcast, Toxic Person Proof, and we just giggled like besties.
Yes. Oh my God, it was so amazing. So Sarah, can you let everybody know what you're up to and what you do?
Okay, so I'm a toxic relationship specialist, and I help the world's most amazing women remember how amazing they are after a toxic partner, parent, coworker, whatever. I really do believe in strength-based healing and strategic healing. And I feel like there's such a gap in the current conversation around toxic relationships. Like it's only about self-esteem or only about narcissistic personality disorder or only about, and there's this real missing gap of one, what to do about the red flags. Like, cause we know what red flags are. If you asked a 13-year-old girl, like, is this a red flag? They would be able to say yes, but we ignore it. What's happening? Why are we ignoring that? And is the only answer self-esteem? I don't think so.
Right.
Right.
That's so powerful. Yeah. So what got you here? What got you inspired to do this? Because I mean, this is so powerful. It's so necessary because I believe like we've kind of normalized this behavior in society. It's become the norm. It's even become the most praised in a lot of areas. So what inspired you to tackle this?
So yeah, I definitely did not, as a little girl, grow up thinking I was going to be a toxic relationship specialist, right? Like no one thinks that, and I obviously went through my own journey of thinking there was some way I could make everyone happy. And for me, it was very much based in trying to do the right thing.
Okay. Yeah.
But even like when you look at the Bible verse, like love everyone as you love your neighbor as you love yourself, or that golden rule, it's not just in the Bible, that's across tons of religions, that basic idea of love others as you love yourself. I noticed that it was love everyone except for yourself.
Yes. Yeah. And that's really so pivotal.
It is so pivotal. And what happens is we contribute to the darkness.
Yes.
We're trying to be people of light, but when we say, I will be your punching bag, I will be your emotional punching bag, I will let you degrade me, I will keep forgiving, I will keep putting up with bad behavior, we think we're doing the right thing because we're being forgiving or loyal or nice or kind. We're not doing the right thing. We are contributing to the darkness.
Wow. Oh, I got chills. I never heard it said that way, but it's so beautiful.
No one else is saying it that way. I mean, that's the problem. No one else is.
I love that. And I take issue with that instant forgiveness crap. I'm just going to call it crap because it is. Because like people are like, I got to forgive. Well, I have to, and that's not forgiving for me. And but it's like this game of like, I got to forgive so I can pat myself in the back. Like I got to suffer so I can be a martyr and that makes me good.
That's That's it.
Guys, this year, I really broke that pattern and in a way that was kind of devastating because, like I'm an addict in recovery, so I know the devastation of recovery. That doesn't mean it's not healthy, but the process at first is devastating. So when I had to cut off from realizing this forgiveness loop was actually very toxic because it was keeping me in place to keep receiving abuse. Oh, I'll forgive them. Oh, all these like, oh, but it's okay. But it's not.
Well, I'm not sure what type of addiction you've recovered from, but like
multiple, can we use the rainbow?
Okay, we'll use alcohol as an example, if I may. Just Okay, so if there is someone in recovery Okay. And they are going through some type of withdrawal and they're in a really bad mood and they're angry and ugly and yelling at someone to bring them a bottle, or where did you take my bottle? Or where did you take my heroin? Or where did you take my cocaine? Or where did you take my fried chicken and milkshake? Right. It doesn't matter what addiction it is. And it's not nice to feed someone's addiction.
Ooh, yes. That's exactly right. It isn't that, because it's not love. If someone is being abusive and I'm like, it's okay, you can be abusive, it's not okay, because exactly, you don't feed the addict. And I'm enabling that. I can't enable an abuser. I can't do it.
Well, some people's addiction is manipulation. Some people's addiction is control. Some people's addiction is blaming, like always looking if they can avoid blame. Some people's, we all have different addictions, and it's interesting, even within like conservative cultures, but the real true like spiritual yogi memes, like the Buddhist memes, are very like more like the terms of enlightenment are really similar to like Jewish the Old Testament, like Jewish things. It's very similar, and which is very fascinating in the sense of I am a martyr. I'm a good person if I put up with bad behavior. And I know you have a lot of female listeners, and I want to say, as true, and we talked a little bit about this last time that we spoke, and so few people can have this conversation. If we want women to be successful, we have to stop thinking that being a good woman is putting up with bad behavior from a man or a woman or whoever, or your mother. Right. It's not a male-female issue. I have a son I love, a husband I love, and a father I love, but as feminists, like you talk to all these women and they're putting up with this horrific behavior from men, and they're calling themselves a feminist. And it's like, what?
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with saying that there are men who have bad behavior. That's just factual, right? We're talking about humanity. And quite frankly, if we pretend that's not true, that's dehumanizing men because we have them in a fantasy. So it's like, that's true. But, yes, there are women who have bad behavior, men who have bad people have bad behavior. And that is inclusive of men as well. There are men who have bad behavior. There's nothing wrong with saying that. That's fact.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So you're spot on. Exactly. It's like, if I am going to be standing in my health and I'm going to be loving myself as a human being, as a woman, as, a person on this friggin' planet, I need to be treating myself as sacred. And that's that self-love of no.
So I've even got a flip on that. So yes, self-love. Okay. But self-integrity.
Yes. For me, that's one and the same, but yes. Thanks for pointing that out, because a lot of people think self-love is like some frou-frou thing, but it's not. Self-love is integrity, because if we're not in integrity with ourselves, how can we be in a space of love? That's not.
Well, and we want, we want friends to be committed to us. We want a company to be committed to us. We want a man to be committed to us, or a woman to be committed to us. Okay. But then I guess, are you committed to yourself?
Boom. Right there.
Well, and it's like, I want to be so clear and say, you cannot have a healthy relationship with anyone until you are committed to yourself.
Yes.
And that's such a far cry from being selfish.
Right.
It's selfish to have your needs met through someone else.
And to me, I don't even see selfish as a dirty word, because I'm like, sometimes you got to be selfish, like in a healthy sense. Like I need to come first. But there is, the toxic side of selfishness where it's like, nah, you can't be messing with that.
Well, that's why I use that integrity word, because some people do have hiccups with selfish or self-love, because they think it's like, I really love my button these jeans. And it's like, okay, that's like level one, like, that's great. Yes. I'm glad you like your button jeans, but it's like, do you have the integrity to yourself to not ignore red flags?
Absolutely.
Do you have the integrity to yourself to not feed someone's addiction of power or control or anger in the name of trying to be a good person? Do you have the integrity of yourself not to feed someone else's addiction?
And it's not easy. It's not easy. And it's even, in my experience, it's even socially taboo. You know, like
Oh, oh
yeah,
yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah, like
Yes.
people who are
There's a
standing
book
in their
called, I'm looking
integrity.
at it. Well,
What?
yeah, there's a book called 13 Things Mentally Strong Women Don't Do by Amy Morin, I think is how you
Oh,
pronounce her name. It's very good. I finished it yesterday. But she said,
ooh,
even in
check that out.
accepting compliments,
Mm,
like how when women accept compliments, other women, they want them to humble brag instead. Like it was
okay.
like, I think you did this. You said this before we hit record, and you said, "Oh, you're multi-talented." I was like, "Well, I am multi-talented," but we were talking about book design. I was like, "Not in that area," but thank you. I accept your compliment. I am
Yeah,
multi-talented, and I
that was
believe
beautiful. That
that.
was beautiful. Like when you said that, I was like, go on, queen. Yes, yes, yes. I love that.
Mhm,
Because it was
mhm.
so smoothly beautiful. It's like you didn't put yourself down like, oh, I'm not multi-talented, because you clearly are. You just said that's just not my
Mhm.
field. And that was beautiful.
Well, and that took a lot of work.
Mm,
It appears easy, but it took a lot. And I was in a situation with a group of women, executive leadership training, and that was what we were supposed to
mm,
do because they were talking about how. I hate to go back to men and women, but they were talking about the glass ceiling and men getting paid more than women, and it was saying, well, women don't talk about what they're good at.
Oh, yes, exactly. That's exactly
Yeah,
really important. Like we got to speak up. And I noticed that in myself too. I had like every time I used to be like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm
yeah,
sorry. Like it was like
yeah.
sorry, I'm sorry. It was like ridiculous. And I was like, girl, oh what? What?
Yep.
Sure, like we need to just not like be, but it's something, and I don't know, like, well, not I don't know. It's such a mix of things that women become ingrained with, and it's this consistent, almost apology, and you must be small, or because it has been, we've seen historically that it has been dangerous for women to be big.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that is, I would say, is a generational thing, where
Well, yeah. For
that
so
women are
much in
healing
history. Yeah.
from.
Yeah. Yeah. And in that situation, in that training, like I went through my exercise and I was supposed to say nice things about myself. And so I did that. And then someone came in after me and she'd been late. She was out the day before. So she missed part of that training. And she came in and she said, well, I I need to tell you guys the reason I was out yesterday. I wasn't sick. I won an award, but I didn't want to tell anybody.
Oh, oh,
And I
that's
looked at her straight in the
heartbreaking.
face. It is heartbreaking, but I looked her
Yeah.
straight in the face. I said, we're here to learn how to speak
Mm.
well about ourselves. And I just spent 30 minutes talking well about myself. And when you can't talk well about you, you make me feel like I'm doing something wrong. And I'm not.
Ooh, oh, that's beautiful.
Right. And it was
That's
like,
right. Because we
you,
do need to see the impact that we have on each other as
yeah,
well. And it's like, as we rise, we are teaching other women, yes, it's okay. I got you. Not that we need permission from other people, but that it's, we already have a culture that shames women. So we really don't want to,
yeah,
like you said before, feed the darkness with our
yeah.
small, like I don't want to be small and feed the darkness.
And I don't think we need more affirmations. I don't think we need
Right.
more whatever. I think we need more women leading by example and saying, I'm going to take up as much space as I can
Mm, yes.
and act
Yes.
in
Yes.
integrity myself. And even when you said that about the compliment, because that's honestly something I put a lot of work into is how to accept compliments,
Yes.
how to accept it without being
Oh,
braggy,
I get it.
you know?
Yes.
Because what I
Yes.
didn't say is, you're right, I'm good at everything, because that's
Right.
ridiculous. And for anyone listening, I did taper it a bit because in the 13 things mentally strong women don't do, she was talking about accepting compliments. And I accepted what I felt to be true. And I also pointed out something that was also true, which is, well, I should never design a book cover. Like that would be,
Hmm.
I really should not do that. But it probably, for anyone listening, you probably accepted it better subconsciously, and other women would accept it better because I showed vulnerability in saying, I'm not good at this, but I am good at this.
Yeah, I thought it was so powerful. And I just ordered that book, by the way, because it sounds
Ah!
fabulous. I'm like, that is happening. I need to read that.
Yeah.
Um,
Her
yeah,
books
that
are great.
is,
Yeah.
yeah, I thought it was so beautiful. And vulnerability is so beautiful. Now you talk about your strength-based healing.
Yes,
Like,
yes,
is
yes.
that, so you're incorporating all of this in this, or how does that work?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So if you are good, kind, loving, giving, and forgiving, people can use that against you. Just is what it is, right? Like you can, you want to give to others, you want to help others, you want to put the relationship before the being right. Like all these things are wonderful traits in healthy relationships. They are horrific traits when it comes to a toxic person using you.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Right?
Yeah.
There's such things being too agreeable, too accepting, too forgiving. Okay. But those are wonderful qualities.
Yeah.
Those aren't, I have a daughter. I want her to be good, kind, loving, giving, and forgiving. I have a son. I want him to be good, kind, loving, giving, and forgiving.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
So where's that balance in still holding on to that identity? I'm a good person. I'm a giving person. I'm a forgiving person. Because if, Crystal, if your core identity was being a giving person, okay, and I'm like, what kind of person are you? I'm struggling. Do you not see? Do you not see how I'm struggling right now? How dare you not, I do the flip.
Right.
And I put you on defense of your identity.
Right.
And you're mine. I can get you to do whatever I want.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not in a list of red flags. You're talking about guys with arm muscles too big, or bad relationship with their mom. And it is good to have a good relationship with your mom. But I mean, the red flags list, it's like, well, so does everyone who has a toxic mama, are they bad husbands? I certainly have not seen that in my life.
Right. Exactly.
We're studying the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
We're studying the wrong stuff. There's good things about studying personality disorders and all that kind of stuff, but that piece that we're really missing is how our strengths can be used against us, and how to pull in those strengths and those identities and those values to live within that integrity to yourself.
Oh, yes. I love it. Oh my God. You're just like golden nuggets everywhere. I love it. Just absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
That's right there. Like, it's just so true, because I've had, I'm sure pretty much everybody's had that done to them. I know I've definitely had that done to me.
Sure.
And it just hit me down to my soul, because that's the fastest way to have me just crumble. Like, we'll say used to be, because I don't play those games anymore, but it used to be the fastest way. Now it's the fastest way for me to recognize that someone's unhealthy.
And it's really important for us to know what our kryptonite is.
Ooh, yes.
Right? Because toxic people are really good at seeing that vulnerability or strength, whatever it may be. And your strength can be your vulnerability. Mine is, it's like self-growth. Like if someone's can make me a better person, I will put up with a lot, or historically I would have put up with a lot of criticism, or let them have a lot of control. Cause it's like, oh, Sarah, here's how to become a better person. And I'm like a little puppy, like, I want to be a better person. I want to be a better person. Like, it's ridiculous to think about now. That's a wonderful quality. That is not codependency. That is not brokenness. That is not a self-esteem issue.
I love that.
It's my kryptonite. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, because so many times, and someone, another one of my friends had just kind of pointed out to me, he was like, questioning the whole concept of codependency.
I can send him studies on questioning the concept of codependency.
It made me start to question, because I'm like, it does sound a little victim blamey.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love it.
So here's this analogy that I want you to think about. Okay. So Purdue did a study, 67%, I think it's like 63 or 67, I'm not sure, but of people who've been in toxic relationships, 67% do not fit within the realm of codependency. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So most people don't fit into that. Okay. But here's what I want you to think about. Can you imagine only studying cancer at stage 4?
Ooh.
Okay. So we're looking at self-esteem, or looking at identity, or we're studying these people, but they're in stage 3 and stage 4 of manipulation, of toxic behavior, of cancer. So of course they look a hot mess. Of course they're angry. Of course they're indecisive. Of course they're broken down.
Mm. Yes.
All our conversation around toxic relationships is in stage 4, domestic violence awareness. It makes me so, domestic violence awareness, like that makes me so, do we not know that domestic violence is a problem? Do we need to be aware that when a man hits a woman or a woman hits a man, that's an issue? They're getting trapped in their house. Do we need to be aware of this as a society? Really? It's 2020. Why are we talking about this? Why are we not talking about the pre-cancerous cells of toxic relationships? So you can stay safe. If we only talked about cancer in its pre-cancer, like the end,
right.
Of course it looks like codependency at that point. Who were they early on in the game?
Right. Oh, wow. That's so important. That's so powerful. That's really powerful. And so you also talked about strategic healing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Go on, girl.
Okay. So you will hear me. This is probably going to be my next book about what problem are you trying to solve?
Okay.
And every client, every woman, even our first conversation when people do like an initial call with me, what 3 problems are you trying to solve? And even in that question, people are like, oh, well, what problem am I trying to solve? And then what I call waffling down the problem. So breaking it into like its truest pieces, right? And then figuring out if it's a abstract problem, a gravity problem, or an actionable problem. Okay. So sometimes the concept of like, I want to be happy, that's pretty abstract.
Right.
Like, how do you know if you're happy? What does happiness look like? What does that mean? That's how you would waffle down. Okay. When I felt like I had a peaceful home for my kids and there wasn't fighting and they were looking up to me because they felt I was really successful at my job and I was in another healthy, successful relationship, that's how I would know. Do you see how much more like specific that is than happy?
Right. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So what problem are you trying to solve? It may be better communication with an ex. It may be, and we talk about, there's a great book called Design Your Life.
Okay.
And that's where the concept of gravity problems comes from. That is not mine. This, but they did not add abstract problems. So they talked about, is it a gravity problem? Which you can't solve the problem of gravity, right? That's a bad problem to solve.
Right.
You can't fight gravity. Some things are the way they are. A toxic person's brain is how it is. It is the way it is. You trying to solve their brain, solve their addiction, solve their problem when they don't want to is a bad problem to solve.
Yeah, absolutely. And we, like, coming from addiction, I know I can't do anyone's recovery for them. I can't. It has to be, like you said, it comes down to choice. And it's a very important life decision that it takes hitting rock bottom sometimes a couple of times before that choice becomes everything. And unfortunately, some don't make it there. So
and some people have brain structures with Sandra L. Brown. And, I think one of the big conversations within toxic behaviors and toxic personality disorders is as we study more, like think about like 50 years ago, we wouldn't have had, maybe not 50, I'm not exactly sure the time, but 100 years ago, we would not have had brain scans.
Right.
We would not have studied, like, is someone's brain actually different? Almost hate to throw addiction in with that because it's really very different problems. It's a different problem to solve, but addictions are more prevalent in people with personality disorders. I can say that, but not everyone who has an addiction has a personality disorder.
Right. Because I know what my friend says, she says it's trauma is the gateway drug.
Yes.
And so a lot of people in recovery have extensive trauma. I know.
Yes.
So yeah, there are definitely different aspects to it, but yeah, that's one of them as well. Yeah.
But I think it'll be really interesting as Sandra L. Brown, she runs the Relational Harm Institute. And when we talked on my podcast, Toxic Person Proof, she said, it's like when you think I can love someone so well that they don't have autism anymore. Like there's a personality disorder. Like this is who they are. Like this is who they are. And if you're good, kind, loving, giving, and forgiving, you just think, well, but that's not who they want to be. Yeah, it is. They're getting their way every time. That is exactly who they want to be.
Ooh, that's a really good point. And I want to say also consciously or not consciously, because like while like, you know, in my addiction, in my like most traumatic parts of my life, I was operating in ways that were unconsciously, I didn't know this is what I was putting in place. I was so stuck in the cycle of relapsing into trauma, like the trauma cycle. So while it wasn't something that my soul wanted, it was, you know, my addictions and everything were still looping in that story because that is what I was addicted to. So in a sense, that is what my addict wanted. So there is a reality to, okay, if this behavior is continuing, there is a cycle that is being held in place, whether consciously or not. And I think people sometimes get stuck in but they don't know what they're doing. Okay, but that doesn't mean that you're going to make them know what they're doing.
That is so important. I mean, there was someone I talked to yesterday, and she spent 1.5 years trying to prove he was abusive in court. And I see so many, you know, women thinking, oh, if I can prove that they are doing this or prove that they're doing that, it's like, well, it's almost like in our heads, we think there's going to be like a justice parade. And then if we can prove that there's going to be like this parade and the whole world, and like the president's going to call us and say, congratulations. And all our friends and family are going to be like, what? He was such a horrible person. Now you, and like almost like, I feel about that scene from like, you know, like Remember the Titans or something, where like there's like a hero and they like hoist them on their shoulders and they're like, yes, yes. It's like, it's almost as if and I am like, it's heartbreaking. I'm not making fun.
No,
I'm not making fun. But it's like, that's the scene we imagine, as if like once like a court says, or someone says, or we can prove or get them on something, that then it's going to be like, oh, well, you got me. I'm going to be different.
Right.
Right. And I want to point out that one of my favorite analogies, it's going to be in my book, Toxic Person Proof. Keep saying that. Podcast, Toxic Person Proof, book, Toxic Person Proof. But I talk about the analogy of the 3 little pigs.
Oh.
You had one pig had a boundary of straw. One pig had a boundary of sticks. And one pig had a boundary of bricks. Better boundaries do not make better wolves. That big bad wolf was huffing and puffing on every single one of those boundaries, on every single one of those people.
I never thought of it that way. That's so powerful. I love that. Oh my gosh.
That's not how people are talking about it. It's almost victim blaming and like, well, you should have had better boundaries.
Oh my God. Yes. All the time. I mean, sometimes that's still how I see it myself. I'm like, well, if only my boundaries had been stronger, if only I had been healthier. But the reality is, if only that person had been healthier.
It does not change their brain structure. And that's why the conversation around brain structure is so important. And, you know, Sandra has done a lot of work in the brain. And that is, we are like in the baby steps of that. People say, why are people toxic? Well, like we're in the like teeny tiny baby steps of that. So ask us in 100 years. But knowing, and I think sometimes we think, oh, if I know their brain is like that, then again, it's like that hoisting parade and like, yeah. And it's like, no, there's nothing you can do about it. It's all heartbreaking. That piece is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But your life doesn't have to be heartbreaking. When you figure out what problems you can solve, when you figure out how to stop getting into abstract problems, when you figure out how to stop running into gravity problems, when you figure out what problems you're trying to solve, how to solve them very specifically, then you can take action on those. And you can have a wonderful, amazing, abundant life, because there are hardly ever better problem solvers than people who've been in toxic relationships, because they're doing everything they can to make life better.
Ooh, that's a great acknowledgement.
It's huge.
Yeah.
And I truly believe this happens to the best people in the world, men and women. And if you can turn your head and start solving problems that have solutions, rather than constantly trying to solve the toxic person's problems.
Wow. That is a beautiful reframe. Oh my gosh, I love that.
Well, and
Sarah,
Crystal, you've seen enough about my
amazing.
life. And it's like, how do you get all this stuff done? How do you do this? What do you mean you wrote a book? What do you mean you're doing this? What do you mean, like, how do you get all this stuff done? I'm not solving toxic people's problems anymore.
For real. That is exactly true. Because let me tell you something. Once I had, and I tell you, it was a very painful and still processing the morning of a big goodbye that I had to do. But I'm going to tell you, my life, my creativity is catapulted.
Exactly.
I'm in the process of projects right now that I never thought were going to happen, and they're going to be coming to fruition in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just thinking about this actually yesterday. I was like, oh my God, now that I don't have to spend my energy like just trying to heal from the traumatization and re-traumatization and the constant opening of wounds and the bleeding all over the place, I have a beautiful, like my life has just gotten even more and more beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you use the language, if someone in your life says, oh, wow, what's different? Even if you use the language of, I'm working to solve problems that have solutions.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome.
That is so empowering because everyone can do that.
Absolutely.
It's not about how talented you are. You are very talented, but it's not like everyone can do that. And it really empowers the listener to say, oh, what problems in my life have solutions?
Yes, totally. And for me, I said yes to me. Like I love myself. I stood in my love and my sovereignty. And that's exactly what that is too. That problem solving, solving what can be solved is that health. Is that self-love, because it's not banging against the wall anymore. That self-flagellation of let me lay down and be your carpet over and over again.
Mm-hmm. And when that's happened to people, I say, well, how's that worked for you? Has that worked? Has anyone said, you've been my punching bag for years now. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Every time I have a bad day, I can take it out on you.
Oh, I know. Exactly.
It doesn't work. It's not working. And people are like, oh, how do you motivate yourself to make a change? And in my own life, I just wanted to say, am I really, and I'm saying this with all the love and grace, and like, I've been in horrible places in my life. I'm saying this all the love and grace, but I just kind of started asking myself, am I really that stupid? Like that's what it had to take to like jar. And it was like, it's not working.
It's not working. Exactly.
It's not working. No matter how nice I am, no matter how hard I'm trying, no matter how good enough I try to be, no matter what I change, it's never good enough.
Right.
So I should try something else.
Absolutely. And it wasn't even that you were stupid. It was just like, we just have this, we've been normalized to this.
Yeah. It's not stupid. I had to talk to myself. I usually talk to myself very well.
I do have to be a little firm with myself too. Like, girl, knock it off. We ain't playing with that. Get out of the freaking pile of Duke and get on to something new. No, I feel you. Sometimes I have to tell myself like this.
Yeah, I had to jar myself into my own reality, right? Because it's very easy to.
Yeah, sometimes it just has to be a very like, that's not cute. That's not the right move. We ain't doing that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Oh, that's so fun.
Oh my God, Sarah, thank you so much for coming on. This has been amazing. How can people reach you so they can connect with this amazing energy and everything you're up to?
So definitely the best way to reach me, you can look up Sarah K Ramsey Bounce Back on Facebook. Join my Facebook group, Finding Love and Success After a Toxic Relationship. Go to sarahkramsey.com and join my email list. So I do all kinds of interviews, and I'm really fortunate enough to talk to all the best experts in this field, and always obsessively studying patterns and, what's a better way to communicate it? Like the three little pigs analogy. I was like, something's missing, something's missing. Right. And it's funny, like every time I say that to like people who've been like doing this, for 30 years, like almost ready to retire. And I'll use the big, the pig analogy. They're like, whoa.
I love that.
Yeah, that's good. But that's my obsession, right? Is to give clarity to what's actually happening so people can start moving forward.
I love that. I love that so much. Is there anything else you want to say before, we move into your next, what you're up to? And would you like to share something with the audience?
Oh gosh, what all am I up to? Definitely check out my podcast, Toxic Person Proof.
It's such a good podcast.
Oh yeah, thank you. It has blown up. It has been really not one of the biggest surprises of my life, which I shouldn't be that surprised, but when good things happen. But it was just like, yeah. And they started a podcast, and during COVID, I was locked down in my house too, so I couldn't. I'm an extrovert, and so I was like, oh, okay, now's a good time to do this, and it was like fire. Like it was just like caught on fire, and just has been so popular. So I'm so grateful for that, and just so grateful to be able to talk to such amazing people like you, Crystal, and just connect with some of the best minds in the world. Yeah.
Oh, that's so amazing. Thank you so much, Sarah. And everybody, the links are going to be below, so check her out. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of The Vivifier. We rise together.